rectus abdominis, the most superficial muscle in the anterior part of the abdominal cavity. Its origin is all the way down to the pubic spine, so there's no way we can just go to the origin. But from there, runs all the way up in both sides and go to the cartilage 5, 6, 7 here, and also to that we call the xiphoid process. So that's what we call the pecs. There's the xiphoid process, and we have the cartilage 5, 6, 7 here. So it's a superficial muscle. That's the way of muscle fiber direction, and it's the way of the cross fiber. What is the action of this muscle is the compression of the abdominal cavity, and also at the same time have bilateral flexion of the trunk. So bring your body up. That's flexion of the trunk. Good. Synergies, internal, external obliques. Antagonists, they can be longissimus, ilicostalis, and spinalis, which is the rector group, correct? Good. From there, we're just moving on to the next muscle, and the best way to do the next muscle, we're going to be a little bit on the side, turn the client on the side. From the lower 8 ribs, so go to rib 12, down here, so from here, from this part here, from lower 8 ribs, we have the origin and runs all the way down to linea alba and goes all the way to the pubic. We have the external obliques. There's a muscle fiber direction of the external obliques. Cross fibers is on this direction. What the external obliques does, bilateral, as you see, is both do the flexion of the trunk, and unilateral is on the opposite side. So if I'm contracting this part, I need to contract these external obliques to make the client come up this way. So I need to contract his left external obliques to turn the client on the right side. Okay? Another muscle underneath the external obliques, we have the internal obliques, where the origin starts a little more posterior. So it goes from the thoracolumbar aponeurosis, iliac crest here, thoracolumbar aponeurosis here, and just come up on this direction and goes up here in this direction and goes all the way up to the ribs. Do you guys remember what number of ribs?
7,
9, 12. Okay? Ribs, so go in this direction. Internal obliques deeper than external obliques. The same action bilaterally, flexion of the trunk. Unilaterally are antagonists. Why? Because internal obliques, I need to contract his right internal obliques to turn him in the lateral flexion or rotation on the same side. Now, if you put the client on the supine position, you're going to see that this direction we have the external obliques, while this direction we have the internal obliques. But internal obliques stop to the linea alba. Here at the same time on the other side, we start with external obliques. So external obliques on one side have the same muscle fiber direction with internal obliques on the other side. Or external obliques on this side is going to give you the same muscle direction of internal obliques on the other side. The reason I push this so high is because when we strip the external obliques, we're crossing fiber internal obliques in both sides. This is muscle number 3. We have the last muscle coming up on the abdominal cavity, and this is the transverse abdominis. The reason called transverse abdominis is because the muscle fibers run on the transverse way, which is from on the back, which is like the thoracolumbar aponeurosis. Start the lower ribs here, thoracolumbar aponeurosis, and the iliac crest. and this is the muscle fiber direction. And also on the other side, iliac crest and muscle fiber direction. So, goes from this way, origin, and the insertion, face up again please. So at both sides, we're going to grab those lines and they're going to come straight to the linea alba, pubic, also the other side too. The way that you see how this muscle around, guys, it's hard that this muscle to do too much on the movement. Most likely this muscle, the main action of this muscle is compression of the abdominal cavity, so holding the stuff. By being that way, the best way is synergies with this muscle can be the rectus abdominis because they both compress and hold that one. But for stretching this muscle is hard unless we just increase the cavity in the abdominal area. And this is the deepest muscle. So if you're starting from more superficial to deep, with the rectus abdominis, external obliques, internal obliques, and transverse abdominis. These are the 4 muscles. And one more muscle before we finish the 5th muscle on this day. We have the iliopsoas. Iliopsoas, there are 2 muscles, most likely 3. It's like a psoas major, minor, and iliacus. But if we imagine ourselves that working so deep there, okay, from rib 12, from the anterior aspect of the ribs, so anterior aspect of the rib, which is rib 12, going from L1 till L5, deeper, iliac crest here, so in this direction, and just insert into the lesser trochanter, we have the iliopsoas. What is this muscle does? The main action of this muscle is flexion of the hip. And there's the priority. Or if you stabilize the hip, this muscle force to lateral rotation. But most iliopsoas consider the strongest